Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to check out the other of the newest Amber Collection figures that have just been released by Mattel. They just recently arrived on BigBadToyStore.com, and this is the Tiger Raptor, the Velociraptor from the Lost World Jurassic Park, and you can actually see that they do state there under the Velociraptor title that it is from the Lost World Jurassic Park, so that's pretty cool. But honestly, it's kind of a 50-50 figure for me. A lot of the images I had initially seen of it were not very impressive. Then I had seen a few pictures a few weeks ago that actually looked pretty good, and looking at it through the packaging here, it's a little tough to tell, but I may be a little let down by it. I'm just not too sure quite yet. But as far as the box art goes, again, it looks pretty nice, pretty much your standard Amber Collection box art. Here on the back, we have a beautiful image of the Lost World Velociraptor right there, as well as some information on the dinosaur down here on the right-hand side. So without further ado, we're going to break this open and take a look at the newest Amber Collection Velociraptor. So here is our base, and yet again we have that clear base, which I'm not too sure why they switched to the clear bases, as we previously had an amber colored base for the Amber Collection. That makes sense. For the Pteranodon, I thought it was understandable that they'd have a clear base because, you know, the Pteranodon could be flying and you don't really want any type of like an amber colored thing following it. So the clear made sense on the Pteranodon. Not so much here on this Raptor, but I mean, maybe they've chosen now to go with clear on all of the figures moving forward. I have no idea, but regardless, it's still pretty much your standard Amber Collection base. Really quite nice regardless. And then here is our, let's move that out of the way, our Amber Collection Velociraptor, who is not going to balance right now for me. There we go. There is our Amber Collection Velociraptor, and I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it out of the packaging. It, I mean, actually does look pretty good, but the coloration on the head isn't perfect, and that's kind of the area that I was initially concerned about in general with the Amber Collection Lost World Raptor. It just, like, especially right here, you can see that the orange is like totally non-existent right here behind the eye, and it should be there. It should probably run down to like about the mid area here of the face, maybe even a little lower, but it's not there, and that's definitely a little bit of a bother to me as far as the coloration goes. But other than that, like, it looks really good as far as the tones of color they've used, and it's again very striking looking overall, gorgeous looking for sure. The Echo figure that actually kind of didn't look like Echo would make a good female version, as this is more of like a male Lost World style raptor. The Echo would actually make a pretty good female Lost World style raptor, but I mean, it does look pretty good, but then it also kind of has a few areas that aren't so good. But we're going to go ahead, get a closer look at it regardless right now, and check out every aspect of this very cool Lost World style Amber Collection raptor. So as far as the sculpt goes, we have taken a look at the sculpt prior to this about 400 times probably. All right, not really that many, but we've had a ton of Amber Collection Raptors up until this point, and of course the sculpt is not resculpted to kind of appear more like a Lost World style Raptor as opposed to Velociraptor Blue, because that's exactly who this sculpt is Velociraptor Blue sculpt, just repainted and repackaged as Mattel has done numerous times so far. But the Lost World Raptor looks fairly similar to this, I would say, sculpt-wise, so it's not too bad. But honestly, what we really need to look at is what's new on this figure in comparison to the previous figures, and that would be the paintwork. And the paintwork on this side of the head isn't very impressive, if you ask me. I really am quite let down by the coloration over here, because again, the orange is really inconsistent in comparison to the way it should be as far as the orange on the actual Velociraptor from the Lost World. It doesn't run down far enough on the face, and the brown here almost looks out of place the way that they've applied it. Marco Makes actually did a version of the Lost World Raptor, an image, which I thought looked perfect as far as the way it should look. And unfortunately, that's not how it has turned out here in person. But one thing that I just noticed when I was picking this up before is you can see how this, again, the orange isn't perfect over here, but when we turn it over to this side, the orange definitely looks a little better over here. So there's some inconsistencies as far as the actual paintwork goes, for sure. But I feel like if the orange was like this on both sides, I would probably be a bit more impressed with the coloration on the Raptor than I am, because I feel like it definitely looks better over here than it does on the opposing side. So I'm probably going to pick up another one of these if I find one in store when they actually start to show up. If the paint is a little bit more consistent and actually looks good as far as like the orange coming down the whole way here, even if it's on one side, I'm okay with it. But I'll definitely pick another one up if the paint looks a little better, because this one here, although it looks good, just it could definitely be better. On the plus side, though, the actual application of the brown and the orange looks natural. It's nice and naturally applied. It doesn't look like paint on a figure. It does generally look like body color. We, of course, have the articulated jaw. The inside of the mouth is pretty much the same as the raptors always are. Nicely painted teeth. There doesn't appear to be any real sloppiness or anything. You can see a really nice realistic coloration on the inside of the mouth as far as that pinkish coloration, and then it's been given that nice red wash like we usually get for the Amber Collection figures, kind of insinuating blood maybe, or just some alternate color variation. I really quite like that they put a little more effort into the mouths of the Amber Collection figures, and they do have a nice gloss coat in there, so it makes sure that it has that nice realistic wet look. The eye, I'm also not a huge fan of, because I've never been a big fan of gold on the eyes of any type of a figure, and again, I feel like the coloration here of the eye could have definitely been better if it was a little more accurate to what we actually see in the Lost World. And although I have actually seen some images of the Lost World Raptor where the eyes kind of look a little bit goldish in certain images, I definitely feel like the eyes overall are more of a yellowish coloration, so could have been a little better. But as we start to lead back here into the body, you can see that those stripes pick up and they look really nice, honestly. If you move the neck forward, there's actually not another stripe in there. I actually expected there to be one, but there isn't. Of course, we have some super smooth and really beautiful articulation on the Amber Collection figures. Articulation-wise, it doesn't get too much better than what you get on an Amber Collection figure, and you can see that those stripes continue to run the course of the back, and they look really, really good overall. Very nicely applied, all very realistically applied. Nice darker orange up here for the top of the body, and then it transitions to kind of a lighter tone of orange as we move down. Again, it looks pretty good as far as the coloration of a Lost World style raptor goes. You can see it transitions out here on the tail. On this side, it looks more like a white, like the underside coloration here. But then if we turn it over here, now we see more of the orange on the tail. So again, a little bit more of that inconsistency as far as the paintwork goes. Definitely a bit of a downside, I would say, as far as these figures go, or at least this one specifically. But as we move down here into the legs and everything, you can see those stripes continue down the course of the legs, down the course of the arms as well, which this arm appears to potentially be backwards. It's all messed up and jumbled, but again, the coloration looks pretty good. The coloration also matches nicely to what a Lost World Raptor looks like. Once we get down here into the feet, though, they look nice as far as like the nails are painted really nicely. You have a nice black coloration. They actually don't look like they have a gloss coat on them, which they normally have a little bit of a glossy look, but you don't really see that here. Of course, they missed the dew claw, because for some reason they always miss the dew claw. I don't know why, but I feel like they should have dry brushed over top of the scoots down the toes and the scoots on the fingers. That's one thing that I feel like could have made this a little better. And with the Amber Collection Pteranodon, they did a lot of dry brushing on that figure, so they really could have done that and just made it look a little bit better, in my opinion, but that's just a little nitpick, again, that I have with the figure. The underside looks nice as far as the coloration goes, but it's nothing amazing, nothing crazy, just a nice light coloration for the underbelly. There's not really much else, honestly, as far as paintwork going on with the figure. That's pretty much it. It's still really nice looking overall, very striking looking Amber Collection Raptor, but it definitely could have been better. As usual, as far as Amber Collection figures go, we have lots of articulation, which is pretty much a stop-motion dream come true as far as these figures go. You have the articulation in the jaw. You also have articulation in the neck right here and here, which can allow you to really create a lot of very cool dioramas or stop motion. And it also allows each and every movement to look super realistic and super smooth. Like as you move the neck around, I love the fact that you don't see like a seam or like an area like maybe this area would stick up a little bit because the neck is so far down. It all looks great. As you move it around, every area that the neck kind of articulates still looks really nice and natural. So that is one awesome aspect of these figures. You also have articulation here in the shoulder and then also in the elbow, which I'm actually trying to bend it the wrong way there, and then in the wrist as well. Again, the arm is like super jumbled as far as the way that it should be. The leg actually was too. When I first got it out, I had to reposition the leg because it was all mixed up as far as like the way it was twisted. So they're not perfect right now. I'll have to fix them eventually. You also have articulation here in the hip region, then in the knee as well, and then down here, and then down here, which is a little stiff at this point in time. I'm probably going to have to hit that with some hot water and loosen it up, but it should move forward and back. And then you also have articulation in the sickle claw, which is one really cool aspect of these Amber Collection figures. And then once you move up here, you have articulation in the tail. It can swivel, it can move up, down, left, right, and it can also bend as it is on a wire, so you can kind of position the tail exactly as you would like. As far as the base goes, I didn't take a closer look at this because if you happen to have watched my recent Pteranodon review, it is exactly the same base. There is no difference whatsoever. Again, we have to place our raptor on here, so it almost appears as though he's urinating. But there we go. Now our Amber Collection raptor is on its base, looking gorgeous. And then once we go for a size, for a length, actually, we're going to straighten that tail out a little bit better there. Try to stand the raptor up a little bit more naturally. And then for a length, if we stand it again in this fairly natural looking position, I would say, and we move it forward because the tail's at a screen right there, but you're looking at about 12¼ inches or around the 31 centimeter range. And then as far as a height goes, with it standing up on the base, about 5½ inches or around the 14 centimeter range. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, next to our Lost World Jurassic Park Amber Collection Tiger Striped Velociraptor. And you can definitely see that size-wise, if you don't have any of the Amber Collection Raptors already, they are really nicely sized, very large. In fact, as far as the figures go, you can really see that next to the Papo Rex. But if you happen to already have an Amber Collection Raptor, this is exactly the same size as every Raptor so far. So you'll already know, again, size-wise, how big the figure is. So this Lost World Jurassic Park Amber Collection Tiger Striped Velociraptor is decent, which is a huge letdown, honestly. If you ask me, this one here was the one I was most excited about because it's my favorite version of all of the Jurassic Park Raptors. I love the tiger stripe version of the Raptor. It's so flashy, so natural at the same time as far as the coloration goes. Something I could definitely see, an animal like this being color-wise in person and in real life. So I was really excited about this, really anticipating this figure, and seeing this in person, it's still really nice, but it's just not as nice as I was hoping. Again, the head is pretty much the main area of concern, if you ask me. I can live with the inconsistencies as far as the paintwork, like out on the tail, and how it doesn't match up to the way it should, honestly, as far as like one side's more orange, the other side's a little more pale. They didn't do a good job in that area, but the coloration of the head is one of the most important areas of any dinosaur, in my opinion, and I feel like they didn't do a very good job on this one here compared to what a Lost World Raptor looks like, and again, compared to what this figure should have looked like. Did they do a good job? It's decent, but it's not a great job. I'll put it that way. That's how I should probably term it, because it does still look pretty good, and I feel like if I can get one with some nice paint on that side of the face, or on both sides would be preferable, but on the face that kind of the orange runs down a little further into the face and runs down past the brown and everything around the eye, I think it could look better. The coloration of the brown on the face definitely could have been done a little better, a little more appealing, but the orange and the very inconsistent appearance to the paint of the orange on the face is definitely the biggest downside, if you ask me, as far as this figure goes. If you move past that, though, I really think that the coloration is pretty darn good in comparison to a Lost World Raptor, and they pretty much nailed the tones of color used for the figure. I feel like they did a great job on that. The striping effect looks tremendous throughout the entire figure in every area. They really did a great job on that as well. Of course, the sculpt is a reused Velociraptor blue sculpt, so that could have been improved to kind of give us a new sculpt as far as a raptor goes, more accurate to what the film version looked like. That's one thing I know a lot of people complain about, the fact that they continuously release Raptors, but that's one thing Mattel could have done to please fans a little more as far as, releasing so many Raptors, would have been to actually give the Raptors the more screen accurate sculpts like they should have, because even with the Lost World Raptors, each one of those Raptors looks pretty different in comparison to the other as far as the overall appearance to the figure sculpt-wise would be. And they just choose to reuse the same sculpt again and again and again and just give it new paintwork. And I know that's kind of an attempt to save some money, but it's just something, in my opinion, that Mattel could have done to please fans a little more as far as releasing so many Raptors. Would have maybe to just be, enough to resculpt the head a little bit to look more accurate. But those are just some nitpicks that I have. Again, the figure still looks really quite nice, just not perfect. The articulation is awesome. The paintwork looks pretty nice overall aside from the head. The sculpt is nicely done. Again, it's been beautiful every single time we've had it. So, in my opinion, it's definitely worth purchasing if you're a fan of that Lost World style raptor, and definitely a really cool figure regardless of my couple of nitpicks with it. So if you are interested in picking this up, I will include a link in the description to BigBadToyStore.com where I purchased mine, so you can head on over there. It should be in stock right now. You can purchase yourself this Amber Collection Lost World Raptor, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe before you do, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.